Alright, welcome to my Week 18 MASL picks. This video is going to be a special video because this week I'm going head-to-head with Merlin from the Turf and the Boards, who also does these weekly predictions. We're going to see who is the supreme MASL predictor. I'll post a link to his picks down below, so make sure you check those out. This should be a lot of fun, so let's jump right to it. Starting off on Friday, we have the Kansas City Comets visiting the Orlando SeaWolves. Last week, Kansas City, they looked pretty good, and they actually beat St. Louis, which hasn't happened all that much this year. Meanwhile, Orlando, they didn't look so good. They lost in a big way to both Baltimore as well as Harrisburg, and those games, they were pretty ugly at some points. Kansas City can also clinch that second spot in the South Central Division if they win this game, and overall, Kansas City has just looked like the better team as of late. So I'm going to pick the Comets to win this game and get that second playoff spot. Mississauga MetroStars visiting the Harrisburg Heat. Harrisburg, well, they keep on looking pretty darn good at home. Last week they beat Orlando on Saturday, then they turned around and they didn't win, but they hung in pretty tight against a very tough Utica team on Sunday. Meanwhile, Mississauga, 2 weeks ago they had a big upset in Utica. While they came crashing back down to earth this week, they lost to Utica as well as Baltimore, and those games really weren't all that close. Put all that together, I'm picking the Heat to win this game. Flash de Monterrey visiting the El Paso Coyotes. The Coyotes just keep on struggling. They lost 8-2 to Ontario last week. Meanwhile, Monterrey, they had a nice 3-1 win over RGV, so I'm going to pick the Flash. And then for our final game on Friday, we have the St. Louis Ambush visiting the Milwaukee Wave. Now, a couple of weeks ago, these same two teams played in Milwaukee, and St. Louis, they made it interesting. They kept the game close, even though they did lose. They kept it much, much closer than they have any other game against Milwaukee this year, and it made me kind of wonder if Milwaukee was getting maybe a little bit complacent, having already locked up the division. But last week, Milwaukee went out and just absolutely destroyed the Tropics, which makes me think that game a couple of weeks ago against the Ambush may have just been a fluke. I expect to see Milwaukee back to their dominant ways this week, and I expect them to handle the Ambush easily, so I'm picking the Wave. Moving right along to Saturday, we have the Mississauga MetroStars visiting Utica City FC. So the stage is set. 2 weeks ago, these very same teams played in Utica, and Mississauga pulled off a massive upset. Will they do it again on Saturday? I don't think so. I think that game a couple of weeks ago was just one of those weird fluky games that happens every now and then. If you look at the overall trends of these teams, Utica is a far, far superior side. So I'm picking the City to win this time around. Still on Saturday, we have the Baltimore Blast visiting the Harrisburg Heat. Now, I know earlier on I mentioned that Harrisburg is a very good team at home, and I stand by that, but the Blast are red hot right now. And a couple of weeks ago, they dominated the Heat in Harrisburg, and I expect a similar showing on Saturday. Maybe not quite as extreme. The score is probably going to be a little bit closer than it was a couple of weeks ago, but I still think the Blast are going to win on Saturday. Then we have the Kansas City Comets visiting the Florida Tropics. As you already know, I am predicting that Kansas City will lock up the second playoff spot in their division on Friday night over Orlando, so I don't really think they're going to be playing for all that much on Saturday. Plus, this will be the second game of a 2-game road trip for the Comets, which is always tough on a team, so I'm going to pick the Tropics. Turlock Express at the Ontario Fury. The Fury look like they are finally getting on a roll. 2 weeks ago, they had a nice win over Tacoma, and last week they obliterated El Paso. It seems that Jermaine Jones was a fantastic signing for this team. I expect them to win over Turlock, and I expect this game to be an easy win for the Fury. Then on Sunday, we start with the Baltimore Blast visiting Utica City FC. And I've got to admit, I'm a bit disappointed by this game because I had thought it was going to be absolutely crucial to deciding who won the Eastern Division. And to be fair, it probably still is, but all of a sudden, it doesn't really seem like that matters anymore because the Eastern Division playoffs have already been scheduled and announced, so whoever wins the division, well, that seems kind of inconsequential at this point. So I'm almost expecting both teams to maybe hold back a little bit on Sunday and save something for the playoffs. I don't expect this game to be nearly as intense as it could have been, albeit it will probably still be fun to watch, just not quite as fun as it could have been. And with all that in mind, I'm going to pick Utica to win this game, mostly because they're at home, and the Blast, they have to play the night before in Harrisburg. Orlando SeaWolves visiting the Milwaukee Wave. As I mentioned earlier, Milwaukee, they may have already won their division, but they aren't messing around. I think they're going to win this game easily. El Paso Coyotes visiting the Dallas Sidekicks. The Coyotes have yet to win a game outside of El Paso this season, and I see no reason they'll start on Sunday. I'm picking the Sidekicks. Then we have my game of the week, the Rio Grande Valley Barracudas visiting Flash de Monterrey. These two teams have already punched their tickets to the playoffs. They're just trying to decide who gets to win that Southwest division. And it's been a lot of fun to watch these two teams go at it this season. It's been kind of a back and forth battle all season long. As I said, it's been a lot of fun to watch all of that go down. But one thing I've noticed, it seems like whatever team is at home tends to win these games, which makes winning the division all that more important. Now on Sunday, Monterrey is the home team, and I don't really see any reason that trend will be broken. So I'm going to pick the Flash. And for our final game this week, we have the San Diego Sockers visiting the Tacoma Stars. The Stars, they keep on disappointing me. I keep thinking they're in some kind of weird funk that they're going to snap out of, because I do think they're a good team, but they just don't. They just keep on struggling. Meanwhile, San Diego, they're exactly the opposite. They keep on dominating pretty much every team that they play, so I'm picking the Sockers on Sunday. So that will do it for my Week 18 picks, but make sure you check out the link down below to see Merlin's picks for this week as our head-to-head battle commences, and make sure you come back next week to see which one of us won that battle, as well as to see my Week 19 picks. In the meantime, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.